Now, I did mention two extensions or variations of this concept here. And the nested dynamic segments, that was one important aspect of routing in Next.js when it comes to dynamic routes. The other important variation or extension is that you can also define collect all routes or catch all routes. And what does this mean? Let's say we also have a blog subfolder, and now we might have different ways of loading blog posts. For example, we could get just the slug, just the ID of a blog post. So therefore, of course, in there, we could add a file named id.js. But maybe we also want to support other URLs for loading a single blog post. For example, we want to support /blog/ the ID of a post, but maybe we also want to support /blog/ 2020 /12 the ID of a post to only search for this post if it was released in December 2020. Or we just want to load blog / 2020 /12 to load all blog posts for that specific month in that year. So we have different URL formats which we want to support, and maybe we want to support them all with the same component. So no matter what the path is and how many segments it has, we always want to load the same component. And that's what we can do with such a catch-all route. Instead of just using square brackets and then any identifier of our choice, we can add a syntax here or a special notation here, which you might know from JavaScript. We can add 3 dots here, like the spread operator in JavaScript, and then again, any name of your choice. So that could be ID, that could be slug. I'll go for slug here. But again, that name is up to you. The 3 dots are not, though. This, of course, is no special file name from the operating system's perspective, but Next.js will treat it in a special way, just as it treats all files with square brackets in the file name in a special way. So how does it treat that file? Well, we still define a React component in there. So we could have the blog posts page here, for example, to load all the blog posts, but then we don't know if we get, for example, a path with the year and the month, or just with the year, or with a specific blog post already, or some other filter criteria, depending on what we want to support in our page. So here I'll return my good old div with the h1 tag of the blog posts, and then export this as a default. And I will already import useRouter here. useRouter from NextRouter so that we can look into what the Next.router gives us here. So therefore, I'll get access to my router by calling useRouter and then console log the good old router query value again, like this. And if we now do that and save this, and we go to /blog/ 2020 /12, for example, you see I do load the blog posts page. And here we get our query object with that slug property, because I chose slug as a name here after the 3 dots, but the 3 dots are not part of that property name, as you can tell. And then here we get an array now. And that's different. Before we always got a single value, a single string. Now it's an array of strings for the different segments that were caught. So here we caught the 2020 and the 12 segment, separated by slashes in the URL. But because we defined this as a catch-all path with the 3 dots here, Next.js does catch anything after blog. Because we're defining this in the blog folder, anything after blog is caught by this page component and is made available as an array through that slug property on that query object in the router object. And now we could be using these values to send a request to our database to filter for blog posts where the year is 2020 and the month is 12. And of course, you could encode whatever you want here, and you get those values. So that's how this works and how you can utilize that. And that's another important feature which sometimes can become important and which sometimes can be helpful, since it allows you to write very dynamic paths where not just the individual segment values are dynamic, but even the number of segments are dynamic. And that's not always what you need, but sometimes it is. And therefore, it is important to know that Next.js supports this syntax as well.